Let's see what's cooking. Let's get the facts. Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Max 12.
Hi everyone, today I'm doing something that's more of a technique rather than a recipe. I found this idea on Pinterest and I thought I wanted to give it a try. So I decided to make a pumpkin pie using this technique. Now this is basic pie pastry. You can use whatever recipe you want. I'm going to put the recipe that I normally use in the description box below. I'm also using a pastry cloth and a rolling pin cover. Now what's great about using those, if you can find them, is that you don't have to add a lot of flour and you don't have to overwork your pastry, because adding a lot of flour will make it tough and it won't be quite as tender and flaky. So roll it out like you normally would, and there's about enough pastry there to cover a pie, so you have a top crust and a bottom crust. Then sprinkle on some cinnamon, and then I realized I probably shouldn't be sprinkling cinnamon on my pastry cloth, so I removed it to put that away. Spread the cinnamon out and then sprinkle on some brown sugar. Now I'm not measuring this, of course, I'm just putting a couple of handfuls of brown sugar. You want to make it taste like a cinnamon roll, so this is why I'm adding the sugar and the cinnamon to the pastry. Then roll it up. Roll it up from the long end if you do have a rectangle shape. And once it's rolled up, seal up the edges, and then using a sharp knife, just cut slices about 1/4 of an inch thick until you get these little cinnamon roll shapes. And once those are all cut up, then you can start pressing them into the bottom of your pie plate. Now what I did is I overlapped them slightly so I didn't have any gaps, and I just gently pressed them into the pie plate, and then I covered up the entire pie plate, as you're going to see very soon. Pressing them into the bottom as well. I tried to press them fairly thin because I didn't want the pastry to be too thick, but I still wanted to try to maintain that cinnamon roll look to it. Now I had a few left over, so I just put those in a pie plate. I just bake them, and they're just quite good just on their own, little like little cinnamon flavored little pastry rolls. Now for the actual pie filling, I used the cheater method. I'm using pumpkin pie filling, and I just followed the recipe that's on the back of the label, which is basically the pumpkin pie filling. And that's pumpkin and sugar and spices. They put all that together in the can so you don't have to add it. All you have to add is a little bit of evaporated milk and an egg. And you stir that around and it's ready to go into your pie crust. Pour that in and then bake it like you would your regular pumpkin pie. I didn't find that it took any longer than the regular pie that I normally make. There is the completed pie. The crust itself is very good. You can definitely taste the cinnamon and the sugar, and it does taste a little like a cinnamon roll crust. I found it a little bit too thick though for a pie, a little bit too heavy. So if I were to make this again, I would certainly make those slices of cinnamon roll a little bit thinner so that the crust wouldn't be quite as heavy. It looks great though. You can see the cinnamon swirls on the edge of the crust, and you can also see it from the side and from the bottom if you put it in a clear plate just like that. So it's quite interesting. It's a great and a different way of serving any kind of pie, really, like apple or pumpkin. So why don't you give it a try?